Welcome to Google Ads Unleashed, the podcast that helps you harness the power of Google Ads. And now your host, Jeremy Young.
Hello and welcome back, guys, to Google Ads Unleashed. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm kind of continuing my series of doing a lot of interviews and having guests on. And I'm very lucky today to be joined by one of the top PPC voices on LinkedIn and in the world, actually. He's also been mentioned in the top 50 PPC influencers in the world. So super excited to have Adriaan Dekker on today. Adriaan, pleasure to meet you, man. How are you doing?
Hi, Jeremy. I'm fine, and how are you? And also, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm not doing too badly, to be honest. Very busy as usual, but it's good to be busy usually. So that's usually a positive thing. So, Adriaan, it's the first time us meeting as well, so I'll be perfectly honest, and it's the first time for probably a lot of the listeners probably hearing about you too. So maybe you can start off by just telling us a little bit about your background, maybe a few personal things, where you're from, and of course how you got started in digital marketing and why specifically you've stuck to Google Ads and specialize in PPC, because it is quite a specific niche, right? And I think as PPCers are a crazy bunch, so there's usually a backstory to that.
Yeah, so first of all, my name is Adriaan. Most people know me from LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn with sharing news articles, how-to videos, PDFs. Basically, I share everything around Google Ads. Sometimes I do 8 posts a day, sometimes 4 posts a day, but I'm sharing a lot of content.
Today?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but also it's a mix. Also, sometimes I'm also doing some memes, for example. Then I have my newsletter, of course, where I will just add all the news from the week or sometimes the month. I have my paid newsletter where I do a deep dive into the news. And then I have one product that I created, a Google Ads template, where I will just give a lot of tips about settings, but also optimization tips, where I have files, how-to videos. So basically that are the 4 things where people might know me from. But I also manage accounts, of course. Sometimes people do not even know that they're asking, like, do you also manage accounts? So yes, I'm also active in the system. I do a lot of things in the system, also coaching, audits, active management, sometimes just one audit, for example. And basically everything around Google Ads. So also tracking, but I also do shopping, for example, search, for example, display, every industry, B2B, e-com. If it's Google Ads, I will do it. So yeah, and that basically started. I basically started my freelance job 6 years ago.
Okay.
I was first more in general marketing, but I soon got the opportunity to start with Google Ads, and I've already done a study related to.
How did that come about then? What kind of job was that? Was that at the time?
Yeah, I was working for a company. But it was more general marketing. So it was also social media, content creation. Then I knew they had an ads account. I looked into it a few times, and I've already done some things in my study where I got where I had to do a Google Ads account for a company. And also during my internships, I'd done some Google Ads things. So I already knew the system a bit. Then I wanted to get a new client. And that client wanted to focus on Google Ads. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure I can do that. I've done a study on marketing, e-commerce. I've already seen the system a few times. I already set up a few campaigns. And that's basically how it just started. And then, yeah, I just liked it a lot. And I think it's a good industry to work in. There's enough work. So that's how it all started.
Amazing. And you've been going since then. Would you start that job then and just decided that's it for me, Google Ads, that's what I'm sticking to?
Not directly, to be honest, because after that job, I also got another opportunity from somebody that I knew, and he worked with me at that second job where I was doing Google Ads, and he said, "Oh, I remember we worked at that company. I have now my own agency, and you
Hmm.
did Google Ads, right?" And I was yeah, I did Google Ads, and he was okay, work for me because I have some clients, and then I had, I think that marketing company gave me 4 clients. So then I had 5 Google Ads clients. And basically then I was like, okay, I need to focus on Google Ads. I still did some SEO on the side,
Hmm.
but after 1 year I was fully into Google Ads and I knew there was enough work. So
You
started
switched
posting.
from the dark side SEO to the light side of the force to Google Ads.
Yeah, SEO is also cool to do. But with the backlinks and that it was a bit fake for me, what it was directly doing, and in the ad system you can really see what it's doing and it's really fast performance, right? So that was more my thing, but I still understand SEO, and it's just that I think that paid media just gives immediately results, so I like that more.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what sort of fascinated me from the start a little bit as well, right? You can kind of see, well, with most Google Ads accounts, you can kind of sort of see input and output straight away, unless, of course, the conversion cycle is ridiculously long. But that kind of is what fascinated me as well. You could put money in and money comes out. That's insane. Yeah, that's cool. So you cover quite a lot of things. What kind of is your favorite thing then to do? Because if I have a look at your LinkedIn right now, is your main mission seems at the moment to build the Google Ads newsletter, which you mentioned. So tell us a little bit about the newsletter. What is it like? What kind of information are you finding in there? How do you kind of get your information together? Because I suppose it's a massive tool for people to stay up to date on industry changes, but you must be all over the shop scraping that information together at any given point, right? So you must be going 24/7 doing that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. um, that's why I created a paid product, because it just takes me a lot of time, and I wanted to go deeper because news sharing already takes me a lot of time, and then how do you implement the news? What does this news mean for you? And what in general is the system about, or the new future? And with the paid newsletter, I could do that because there's always a gap. You can tell news, but what does it really mean for you, and how can you implement it? And then also, I receive a lot of PDFs every week, or I create videos, or I spot interesting videos from other people. Then I will also put that in the newsletter, for example. So it's just a lot of news. And for example, if there's a new script you can use, if there's a new video you can use, if there's a hack that you can use, you will find those things in the newsletter.
Hmm.
You do not need to search it for yourself anymore. And yeah, I have a big system where I just have creators, links, and I will just check that every day to see if new things come up. Also, people send me stuff because they know that I post everything, every new item. So yeah, that's just the newsletter. I think it's crucial because the industry is changing so fast. It's ridiculous how fast it's changing, and that's why I only focus on Google Ads. If I if I need to do Meta, Amazon, and the others also, then it will be too much.
Yeah, 100%. It feels sometimes with us, it's like, have you ever bought a computer and it's straight away out of date? Or you bought a
Yeah.
new phone and then the next phone's come out already and and the one you have is old news. That's what it feels like a little bit. And I think we've had a few sort of monumental shocks this year as well, which kind of really show how difficult it is to keep up to date. For instance, cookies being being brought back this week, that came a little bit out of nowhere. Um, yeah, awesome. So you mentioned, so how do you get the newsletter? How do you subscribe to it?
You can just go to my website, adriandekker.nl, and then you can click on newsletter, and then you straight go to the checkout, and then I will send it every Sunday, 4 times a month. We'll send you the newsletter automatically.
Oh, amazing. So you probably will. There's a lot of tips in there, lots of tricks. What's your general sort of how should I say attitude towards testing a lot of things? Because I think in our industry is foul with one thing which I see a lot, and I know you're a big proponent of that as well. And it's always people trying to chase the newest fancy thing. And whilst that's cool to test out, I'm a big proponent of doing the basics right, doing them repeatedly well, and rinse and repeat. So how do you best go about implementing or testing some of the sort of tips and stuff that you share in that newsletter? How do you go about that?
Yeah, so first of all, you need to always ask yourself what your goal is, right? That's the most important thing. You need to know where you're going to and what your goal is and how you can achieve that. And that's something that you need to have in your own mind, right? I can't say, because you have so many goals in accounts, right? That's why when I see an account, I can spot things that I might think, okay, I would not do that, but then I don't know the context, right? So I would just give tips in a newsletter, and then there's still some room for you to interpret what it will mean for you, right? So, um, yeah, sometimes your goal is growth, sometimes you want to be more profitable, sometimes, yeah, maybe your ecom, maybe your B2B, yeah, maybe you want to sell one product more than the other, but the system does not do that. So there's always some room still for context, and I can't close that gap. But I will go deeper in what it means for accounts.
Okay. You just mentioned that you obviously dive into quite a lot of accounts, do audits, and all that sort of stuff as well, where you, of course, can apply all these tips that you accumulate. By the way, I admire your drive to do this, because I think it's one thing to obviously sort of consume ready-made content and be able to have it in a presented format, but to always try and find out all of this yourself, be having to implement and test or make a video or make the content and then share it with others. That's a completely different journey, right? So based on that, what kind of sort of things do you see mostly in any of the ad accounts that you look at, common things? Because probably a lot of the listeners, I've mentioned basics just now, they always fall short of, and you probably know it yourself, 8 out of 10 accounts, there's always something wrong with, don't know, conversion tracking, with the feed, God knows what. Sort of what are sort of the most common things that you deal with and look at?
No server-side tracking. For ecom, not using POAS. For B2B, not using offline conversions, for example, if you have them. No call tracking. Not focusing on what's getting you profit. Not having the right budget going to the right campaign, for example. Basically, those are the main things that I see, or not even knowing what your goal is, right? And also, sometimes it's hard for companies to understand why they're declining or why they're growing sometimes. And they will just look at the COVID time period, for example, and think that that can be achievable right now, but maybe there was just more search volume, right? So
Yeah.
that's also one thing that I find hard when accounts are coming to me, and during COVID they had such just a crazy ROAS, for example, and now it's not the same anymore, but they still want to have the same ROAS, and sometimes it's unachievable, and sometimes there's is still a lot of search volume, and we can optimize things. Yeah, those things.
You know what's interesting? Something you said there just now. I felt beginning of the year at Y&D we had a massive rush of inquiries. So lots and lots of people coming to us, and it's still ongoing. Not as much. So summer is quieting down naturally because businesses, so people go on holiday, gone as what. But generally, I think there's a couple of things going on. A lot of businesses have grown during COVID because, like you said, search volume for certain things have gone up. Online shopping, generally speaking, or online consuming has changed dramatically through the advent of COVID. As a result, a lot of businesses scaled up, which comes with certain base costs that they have to cover, right? It comes with advertising getting more expensive all the time, especially year on year. And now they get the double whammy of having to maintain these costs and at the same time dealing with low consumer behavior due to the economic crisis, competition rising, CPCs increasing, etc. So in a weird way, a lot more people are sort of turning to experts like us, right? Because you'd think we'd be now short of work or out of work if businesses are struggling, but it's quite the opposite, right? We're needed more than ever, really, to try and plug the gaps as much as possible. Yeah, have you had any recent success stories? You don't have to obviously name a brand, but kind of somewhere where you've taken over the ad account and the strategy as well, sort of made it clear to them what is actually going on and what are sort of the steps that you implemented? Can you maybe share a story or an example?
But yeah, I've one successful account, but sometimes the success also depends on how bad the account was before, right? If I get a real bad account, I can make awesome results. So sometimes I feel bad for the company, but then it's like, okay, I can give you a lot of value, right? And sometimes I have accounts, they're already set up really good, and I will say to the company, okay, I will change a few things. I can take over the account, but the setup is already good, right? And I will be honest, because if I can't give you the value you think you can get, then you will not be happy with me, and then I can work there maybe for 2-3 months or maybe half a year, and then I'm gone. So I will always be honest in that. So one account I had, this was an interesting case because first they had an account with a lot of search campaigns and standard shopping campaigns. Then they switched to a smaller setup, but that did not work well for them. So and the company they were working with did not want to switch back to the more complex structure. Then they asked me to take over, and I said, okay, we can do this. I will do it easy, step by step, not change everything in one day, because that's too much risk, because they were still making some profit. Then I changed it, created a lot of search campaigns, for example, did a portfolio bid strategy for that, used exact match keywords in the search campaigns, added some phrase with it. Yeah, and basically we all also saw a better overview with where the money was going, the structure was better, and yeah, the account is now doing really well.
Superbly. So basically, back to basics, right? And of course, using features. You'd mentioned portfolio bid strategies. I don't think people used to hate it, and it's still not used. There's so many accounts I open where I said, well, you've got 10 campaigns here. They all have, I don't know, target CPA 25. Why not just use a portfolio strategy to consolidate that? Cool, amazing. So, of course, you gather a lot of information. You sort of distribute a lot. What do you think are going to be the hot topics for the rest of the year or even the next few years, right? Because, of course, there's huge things now. Of course, the cookies being brought back from the deathbed. AI is going to be huge. What are sort of the huge topics that you're going to see, and where do you think Google is going to go in the next couple of years?
Yeah, so profit on ad spend is a gap that Google can close and where they can still earn a lot of money, because you can get more volume if you have different margins, if you are using profit on ad spend. And if you combine that with a tool like, for example, Profit Metrics, where you also get server-side tagging, because that's also a hot topic,
Yeah.
you can leverage that. And I think Google announced the beta, and some people have access to it. And that's the next thing for e-com companies. And I also think like high higher new customer value, for example, and maybe even in the future, lifetime value, for example, so LTV or cost acquiring customers. If Google can implement all those features and things, or if we can use tools like profit metrics, for example, then they can get more revenue out of that.
Just one thing maybe for the listeners, that I've done an episode actually with Frederick, super nice guy, where
Cool.
he presented the tool. Super nice bloke, honestly. I'd love to go out for beer with him. He was a sound as a pound. And Profit Metrics is a tool now that I've been sort of using a lot more and more now in the past sort of half year to a year. It doesn't fit every business, but a lot of businesses with different margins, mostly that's where it's really helpful. And I want to challenge you on one thing though. Do you think Google really wants that? Because traditionally speaking, Google make the most money when the more ad wastage happens, right? So by bidding on profit, by bidding on gross margins, right, or sort of normal revenue to conversion tracking or conversion value tracking, you would sort of think that the more ad wastage happens, the more Google earns, right? So do you think they will be? So I've actually tested the beta already with the higher customer value. So on one of our clients is working pretty decently, but I don't really think they want that. What do you agree, or do you not see it the same?
Yeah, but with PMax, for example, they now have a system where it's hard to see which channels are really driving growth. Of course, we have some scripts where we can see the channels. What if they create more of those tools? They create more of black box, and then they will implement it. So it's harder for us to see what is getting profitable, and they still get more volume. I think they launched this beta with a reason, right? I think they will, and otherwise, yeah, no, I think they will do it for sure. I think they can get more volume out of it at the end of the day. And even if these tools are getting bigger, they have to at some point start with this. So it's an interesting look on it. But I think at the end of the day, Google can't just keep pushing ROAS.
Maybe you are right, because I suppose what will happen is if a tool like Profit Metrics gets bigger and bigger, and of course Google knows about them, right? They're not stupid. They obviously can see that they're actually earning a decent money with it. They want a piece of that pie, so I suppose they will offer maybe some sort of similar model to that, or will integrate it into their ad platform. That being said, something that I've noticed every time when implementing Profit Metrics, we're actually almost always spending less on the ad account. So because clearly you can see what's you want to put more money towards what is driving profit, or you can use the bucketing strategy. But of course, you pause a lot. That's usually the first thing that happens, right? Pausing a lot, that doesn't work. So it doesn't throw out as much spend. So what were the other ones? Remind me again, you're saying things that you see coming in the server-side tracking, like an own sort of solution. You reckon that's coming, or?
Yeah, server-side tracking to get more data, more accurate data. And I think at the end of the day, getting to know the customer lifetime value could also be really interesting. And using that, but I've not seen anything for that. So at the moment, I think BOAS can be really interesting. And yeah, you have the basic stuff that everybody's already talking about, right? Like AI generation for overviews, using it for assets, using it to get better pictures. Of course, that's already something that Google will profit from. If it's easier to create good assets for holidays, St. Patrick Day, or shopping season, for example, cutting marketing agencies more out, or making sure that we have less to do in the system, so that they can spend more in the system again. yeah, Google's just basically always finding ways how they can get more revenue, because it's just a company
With shareholders. Yeah.
with shareholders. So they're just stuck in this system where they need to get more revenue, and they need to balance the advertisers with the shareholders. But shareholders first.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case. Do you think, as a result, our job will become obsolete one day, or where do you think PPC will be in 5 to 10 years?
I think it will keep going the same way. Less time in the system, more time strategy, more time giving the right setup, more clients for us, but less time spending on clients. And I think that we will always be needed, because Google's always trying to get more revenue out of an account, right? And always having tricks how they can make sure that this setting is auto applied already, or just hard to find, for example. So we will always be needed, but just less and less time spent in the account.
I think that's I could share that. Cool, amazing. So maybe a couple of sort of final call to action to everyone. How can they get in touch with you? And maybe again, you mentioned it before on LinkedIn quite easily, but just maybe one final time, just let them know about all of the products that you have.
Yeah, so first of all, if you want to keep up to date, I will just go to my LinkedIn, Adriaan Dekker. You will find my content, or they will serve you my content, because I post a lot. Then for my products, you can go to my website, adriaandekker.nl. I also post news items on my website, so you can also check that. If you don't want to check it every day, just sign up to my newsletter. I have one on LinkedIn that is free, and I have a paid one that will go deeper and tell you and give you more insights. You can find that on my website. It will say newsletter, and you can click on that. And then you can also find my Google Ads template that will help a lot of advertisers with the settings, with tips, with templates, with how-to videos. And I will update that file every week with new documents, new videos, new tips. And if things changes, I will also change the template.
Amazing. Cool. Adriaan, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Really cool insight. I think a couple of really good insight as well into, I think, the current state of the industry and where it's going to go. And let's make this a second time thing. Maybe once you start your podcast, we talked about it before we started this one. So maybe I can pop on. So thank you very much, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and we'll think about starting a podcast.
Brilliant. So this was Google Ads Unleashed, guys. Thank you, as always, for listening. Don't hesitate to reach out if you need any help with PPC. Of course, either with our friend Adriaan or with myself. Reach out anytime via the website, via LinkedIn. You can book a consultation via Calendly as well. And yeah, I hope this has been helpful to you. This has been Jeremy Young, your dedicated Google Ads expert, and I wish you a successful week ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Google Ads Unleashed. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. If you found value in today's podcast, please share it with others and leave a rating and a review. For more information or to connect with Jeremy, check him out online at www.younganddigital.marketing. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.